How you doing? My name is Tomlinson Nyback. This is 365 Days Toward Racial Change. How you doing today? This is episode 355. 355, you know what that means? We're on the countdown now towards wrapping this thing up and preparing me to go to my next phase, make me level up, ascension, or something, something crazy in life. But I'm determined to finish strong. I actually have all the writing, well, most the writing to finish the project out. I'm going to talk about some housekeeping in a couple videos, but we're on the countdown now. I was just looking at my phone, and for the longest time, I was having this trouble with my phone um, because it was like suddenly I had dead spots in my apartment. I couldn't comfortably talk with my friends. And so I didn't even want to deal with the phone because it was a pain in the butt finding a place in the darn apartment so I could speak with them comfortably. Well, what happened was that actually changed because I found a different charger cord. I guess I got my chargers mixed up or something. But I found a cord that fit better and started recharging very strong. Suddenly I could walk around. I could be anywhere in my apartment and have a good time talking to friends and family. And what I realized was I wasn't getting a complete charge, right? The phone would tell me the charge is complete. Now, when your phone tells you the charge is complete, it's not going to accept really any more charge. Um, but when I used the new cord, and when the phone said the charge was complete, suddenly I'm getting better reception, calls aren't being dropped, and all this stuff, and it's like, what a great, solution. I found the problem. The phone said it was charged, but it wasn't. It wasn't powerfully charged. It was not charged in a way that made it useful for what I needed it to do. Well, as an interesting illustration because like America presents itself as though all of its social issues are resolved. It's all taken care of. We write an amendment, we write a law, and this the problems disappear. We have addressed it, but that's not so, right? All of the especially when it comes to racism, it wasn't like when we had emancipations and stuff like that. And when I say emancipations, plural, that's literal. Right? The 13th Amendment is just one in a series. You had various ones in the North and South during the Civil War and all kinds of manipulations going on with this idea of freedom uh, projected at the minds of slaves. Well, like my phone, right? Telling me it's charged when it's not. It's the same thing America is doing to some degree. It's saying that all of the ills, all of the problems are resolved and taken care of, right? Well, but being a black person in America, I'm getting poor reception, right? Um, my rights, my dignity, my socioeconomic position and condition gets dropped often. and I need something to happen now. Fortunately for me, I got the right data and the right information. I'm moving better in the system because I know what's going on, right? I can exercise some wisdom even in a system that's still contrary, that's still not giving me a full charge in my um, identity as an American. I've had to, I mean, the cord to my phone is hooked up to my computer, right? So the power source has not changed. It's just the equipment has had to be adjusted a little bit. And that's what's happened in my life, So here at Racial Change, that's what we're doing. We're looking for new technology, new resources, um, so that we can be effective in the system again and reach a level of equality and competitiveness in America. Um, what helped me what helped me turn on the light bulb in my life was a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. I read 3 of his books and watched a bunch of videos and stuff, but I feel like he's on point, and so his work informs a lot of what we do here at Racial Change. A Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com, here on YouTube, internet. He's easy to find. Behind me, you see the hashtag #US2 symbol. You'll find Black women having their community, helping one another. Check out Blag Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a Black Facebook experience. And if you've got, uh, if you're not finding your community or your flavor, do what I did. Start your own, right? I mean, there's a lot of good stuff on this topic, but I wanted to do something personal, improve my character, challenge myself to go a little further. If you got an entrepreneurial mind, check out Dr. Boyce Watkins at the Black Business School, theblackbusinessschool.com, for some of your entrepreneurial needs. Check out Blag Enough, BLAGGENUF. That's kind of like a Black Facebook experience. There's a guy named Tyrone Gregory, self-employed tax guy. He'll get you set up, and he'll give you some good feedback um, to help with your business and tax challenges. And finally, as we've gone through this book, the entirety of this book, Uncle Tom's Cabin here at Racial Change, I think we're going to revisit it one more time before we leave this project. How's everybody doing? Today we're going to talk about some media, a movie that is available. And, I say this, I've hinted at it, I say it once in a while, but sometimes I address white people and other groups um, here in America, and I found it interesting. I became aware and so sensitive to some interesting things going on around me that I didn't appreciate until I started doing this work here. And one thing was that there's a good portion of white people that have a genuine interest, in what blacks experience. They want to have well, I won't speak, of course, for the white community, but I can say I've noticed that there are people who are interested in what's going on with black folks, that have some desire to understand. Back back in 2019. If you remember, I went to this inclusion summit, right, where we talked about a lot of these issues and a lot of great speakers there, right? And I gotta say that it was a mostly white crowd at this thing, and you had black folks like me talking about experiences, strategies, and things like that. Well, today we're going to talk about one special guy named John Howard Griffin, uh, author of books, and he was obviously he was so interested in this topic that in the early '60s he colored himself black, used some pigments and things like that. Now, not blackface, the pejorative Al Jolson stuff. He didn't do that. He really colored his whole self, right? And and apparently he passed as a black person, went through the South, and just interacted and saw what it was like to be um, treated like a black person. All right. Now, if you, the book is called Black Like Me. You can find it here on YouTube, full version, Black Like Me. The actor in that is James Whitmore, very good actor. He was the guy in Shawshank Redemption that played, oh darn it, he played the old guy that hung himself. Oh, his name's right on the tip of my tongue. I hope hopefully before we finish it comes Brooks. Yeah, Brooks was here. That was going to mess me up if I didn't remember that because I love that movie. But that's the actor who played in the movie as the black guy. But anyway, so the 6 weeks that John Griffin colored himself and passed as a black man in the South, he got a lot of opportunity, a lot of experiences um, to feel racism there. And this is the Deep South too. It's very, I don't know. The movie doesn't show him checking in with people, right? So, things could have happened to this lone black man in the South, but he was pretty fortunate to get away with his project, right? Black Like Me. 6 weeks. So, you got to appreciate that kind of courage. But also, I'm giving a shout out to the interest in, um, the black condition, right? Because, I said racism is taught and it is nurtured. It's a white folks are racist folks. There's black racists too now, but it's a hatred learned or conditioned, or could be as a result of abuse. So you have some biases and things like that. Well, um, this project, Black Like Me, um, the racism that John Griffin encountered was, uh, it was taught to the people who practiced it, right? And it became normal in communities, right? Big part of racism is to make sure that you dehumanize the victims. Come on now. You remember what it was like in the playground in your elementary school days? The kids do that? I think they do. There's a school up the street from me, so I've seen kids in the playground. Uh, but to tease someone And then if you can tease someone, then you can put your hands on them and whatnot. So there's a genuine interest in that. But if you go back to your elementary school days, you'll understand what's going on. So he's going through the South, right? And the opening scene is telling. And I encourage everyone to go ahead and go to, it's right here on YouTube, and there's no charge. I watched it again. It was part of my school curriculum years ago. But the opening scene has this character. He's on a bus. He's on public transportation, right? And he's there, and he's not at the back of the bus, so to speak. The crowd is a little mixed up in there. I don't know if that's because of, um, I don't know. Well, you're into the '60s, so maybe bus segregation is easing at that point. I'm not going to try to comment on that. But anyway, he's further up in the bus as a black man, right? But the seat, he's sitting next to the window, and the seat next to him is empty. And this is theater and whatnot, but this is my experience in real life. The character, there's a white woman standing in the aisle, right? The bus is packed. He's got an empty seat. So the character reaches out, says, "Ma'am, would you like a seat?" And she jaws at him, and she's very rude and turns her back, and she's um, very disturbed by it. Now, me on public transportation, I've never really gone that far. I've made it clear that I'm not hogging the space. I'm over next to the window as much as I can, but I know what it's like to be on public transportation. The place is packed. I've got an empty seat, and these white people, they will stand in the aisle. This is a real thing. And I had racism is it's so consistent, as irrational as it is. It is it's very consistent. And when I'm so used to it, I don't notice it. But then, like, when I watched the video again for this um, piece today, I was like, I totally forgot that white people will stand up on a crowded bus and leave the seat next to me open because I'm so damn used to it. I forgot all about it. Um, so that's interesting. Look at that, and give you that'll give you some information about racism in America. How it is, like, the white person will put themselves out, inconvenience themselves to keep that separation for whatever reason. I'm not going to go into their minds or their heads about it, but that's a real phenomenon, that opening scene on the bus of this movie. Griffin's going through the South. He's hitchhiking. That's huge. Um, Black man hitchhiking. You, you know, um, in the movie, it's pretty benign and safe, but you also think, like, that black folks and white folks in the Deep South, it was understood that each community had its space. So even if they're in proximity, right, it's not competition. It's not black leadership in a lot of cases, right, unless you're intentionally making a statement about the system, like Dr. King and those freedom marches and things like that. But essentially, blacks and whites could get along as long as people observed their place in the communities and in the neighborhood. Um, this is I got a note here to myself that this would have been a good episode to have a white guest speaker. Hindsight will be 2020. I'll do make my notes and say, man, I could have done that. But anyway, this would have been a good space to have a white person with a genuine interest in racism and stuff like that. He's a young guy at school. I've noticed his language, some of the stuff he would say in class, and when I was hanging out, he's always um, friendly and stuff. So I cornered him one day and pressed him on his interest in racism, social justice issues, and things like that. And like he strikes me as being the real deal, being very much interested and understanding that his whiteness. I'm not sure if he would identify as white, but his skin is white, and it intrigues me when I hear a white person talk about being disturbed about these discrepancies in the system and how how it's just not right. Um, the disadvantages and advantages around skin color in the system. So this would have been a good space to have a white person here do this alongside me or something like that. Maybe if I do it again, I don't know. I'm almost at the end of this project. I love the work though. Another scene where uh, the Griffin character, he wants to pass as a black person, but now he's thinking about attitude, behavior, and so he's with this shoe shine guy. Has his own shoe shine business. Nice business for a black man. The white people, uh, are okay with that. Remember, people know their place, right? So digging ditches, shining shoes, cleaning spaces, shoveling manure, clearing roads, labor, something is good stuff. But business ownership, you got to be careful. That's going to be white folks area, managing people and stuff like that. White folks are going to be more involved with that. So anyway, he has a shoe shine buddy, and actually the movie he has passed so well as a black man that the shoe shine guy doesn't even realize he's talking to an old friend. That's how well he passes. But Griffin wants to take it to another level in his attitude and in his thinking. And the first lesson that the shoe shine black man teaches Griffin is, he teaches him how to be uneducated, to appear ignorant, yet remain wise, remain sharp as a black person. And, black folks probably employed those skills, mastered those skills very early on, because you didn't want to look better than white folks. So that's going to get you some feedback, some pushback. There's um, some documentaries and footage about you know when black folks would maybe get a car, own a piece of land, start their own business back in the day. Well, that would get a lot of heads to turn. You're drawing a lot of attention to yourself as a black person, right? And, especially if the white portions of the white community are depressed. Well, there's portions of the white community that's going to give you some negative feedback. If you're a black person doing better than them, you flip the whole paradigm. That's going to draw some attention. So, you have instances, and this is from individuals to whole communities, right? Rosewood is a great example. Had its self-contained economy, black folks doing well, but white folks can't handle the threat of competition and things like that, so they burn and murder and pillage through Tulsa. A lot of communities. I think we're going to revisit that subject before this project is over. Instances of landowners having their water or livestock poisoned. Black men who own cars and starting their businesses getting shot on the street, broad daylight, from doing well. So, there's a lot of resistance to when black folks, um, maybe not so much today overtly, like in a terroristic way like that, but I think it happens in subtle ways in 2020. But there was a day when, you know, 40s, 50s, and 60s when black folks trying to get a foothold. A movie called Harlem Nights echoes that. Again, Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, and a lot of Della Reese is in that. But it's a good movie. I like to watch that whenever I see that in the programming. But the black casino is doing well. But the white mobster is coming in and wants to take the profits and only leave enough so that the black folks can operate, right? Um, that kind of thing. So black folks had to learn consistently, learn that their minds are sharper in a lot of sense, physically more capable, yet because this other component of American society was pulling the strings, the black folks had to purposely reduce themselves just so they could live and get along in the system. Last scene is there's a lot of scenes. I just picked out three that jumped out. Last scene is with a driver. He's hitchhiking through the deep south. He gets a white man driving to picks him up, and the white man goes into how um, he's sexual with black women, and that if black women work for him, he doesn't pay them until they are sexual with him on some level. Um, this echoes, this is directly from slavery, where the white slave master just had so much control, and so it made the appearance. White slave master went into his female black slaves. I won't say 100%, but a high percentage, because you've got all these mulatto, quadroon, octoroon, light skinned folks or dark skinned white folks running around plantations. Well, those are the results of unions between the slave master and the slave female. The sexuality had this. It was this hyper paranoia around it, where the black woman is seen as promiscuous, right? And this translated to the myth that the black male was this uncontrollable, uh, um, kind of animalistic beast when it came to white women and stuff like that. And it's so it just there is no reason there, but these myths are introduced, right? That especially about the black male, well, any black and sexuality, it makes no sense, right? The black man is um, mentally, socially castrated. The power is um, extracted, especially from black males, and there's uh, no sense of fearing this uncontrollable black male presence, sexual presence on the plantation. Is just an impossibility. Uh, the myth, the promiscuity of black women, that's a myth. They're ordered, they were controlled by selfish white folks to perform sexually. Um, so that's. I just wanted to review that. Didn't want to leave this. It's a movie, black and white, that's very appropriate. That's where you can see scenes and illustrations of some of the stuff we've been talking about for the past year here at Racial Change. I'm out of time. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time. We're on the countdown now. That's day 355 out of the way. I'll see you next time. We're going to finish this thing, I'm sure of it. Bye bye.